Talking to Craig Hoffman, a Redskins beat reporter. The running game, once again, was anemic for the Redskins. If you had to guess in the offseason, they draft a running back, or did they just roll the dice again with Samaje Perine and you get Chris Thompson back, and that's your 1-2?
I would think that they either draft or, if there's a free agent that makes sense, maybe they bring someone in. I haven't looked at the free agent crop of running backs yet to know who that could potentially be. But I think they've got to move. Perine can be a part of this team moving forward. He's got to learn how to be better without having, being against a tired defense on carry, number 10 or 12 or whatever it is later in games. Like, he was better in the second half yesterday.
Sure.
But you can't be that bad early. I mean, he had 4 carries in the first half and averaged 0.8 yards a carry. That's not good enough, and I don't think that's like stunning analysis. If you want to get better as the game goes on, fine, but start at 3 and then wind up being 6 yards a carry, 8 yards a carry in the second half. You can't go from 0.8 to 3.4. That's not going to cut it. And so I don't see him as the guy moving forward, and I would think that whether it's a high pick, I don't think they're going to pick high enough to get like Saquon Barkley, but maybe the other first-round running back, the kid out of LSU, is in play, but I think they probably have more priority at other positions in the first round. But maybe you get a second rounder, or maybe you go, you take a high risk, high reward Alvin Kamara type, and you get it right later in the draft.
Why has Vernon Davis seemingly disappeared from the offense in the last few weeks? 2 catches for 18 yards yesterday. He was a guy that seemed like they were really leaning on when Jordan Reed was struggling to get back on the field and was sidelined. Last few weeks, kind of dried up for Vernon Davis.
Yeah, the offense hasn't been as good either. I think trying to get him the ball. I mean, look, they looked his way a ton last week in L.A. It just didn't go that well. And Kirk probably even missed a couple of other guys because he was looking at Vernon. So it's something that's, part of it's a trickle down of the other injuries post, and especially Chris Thompson, where now all of a sudden your best linebacker probably with Chris Thompson, nevertheless would have originally been Jordan Reed, is guarding Vernon Davis, and Davis doesn't have the ability to separate like those guys do, and so he's also not getting the worst defenders. So that's part of it. He's also, he's not an elite player anymore, and so there's going to be inconsistency. When it's right, it's right. When it's not, he's just going to disappear. I also think that some of the big plays that really padded his stats, but created his stats earlier in the season have gone away. And, teams are focused on him over the top. They know that if he splits out wide, they're trying to get him vertical. And Kirk has missed him a couple times, too. There was one yesterday where Kirk just flat out missed him. He's open, and there's a little bit of pressure in Kirk's face. And I think it was a corner route, and Kirk overthrew him by about 2-3 yards. And, if he catches that, all of a sudden you're looking at 3 catches for 60 yards, and you're going, wow, Vernon Davis back on the board and 20 yards a catch. So combination of things, and I would say that is primarily those things.
The Redskins won ugly yesterday against Arizona, but what was pretty was the 36-yarder to Capri Bibs. Talk about that play, and it doesn't really matter. Like, they'll bring guys in who are off the street, and they can still succeed in this offense, even when it's not firing on all cylinders. Talk about that play yesterday that sprung Bibs for the touchdown.
Yeah, I loved it. And by the way, I loved the Doxson reverse too, even though it didn't work. Right. I refused to be beholden to the results. And I actually asked Jay about trick plays on Friday and said, like, why, is it a matter of injuries, or what is it that you guys haven't really had any plays this year? And he goes, we've had them installed. We just haven't had the situations to run them. And then, of course, they run the reverse, and it goes -14, and everyone's yelling at me in the press box. When I told Jay after, he just laughed, and he goes, yeah, well, I've been trying to run that play for 4 weeks, so sorry. But the play to Bibbs, it's a great design. It's kind of stunning that it works, because if they ran them in reverse order, I think that play almost, can't be more effective than it was. But like, they had never run any kind of reverse action that I can remember to Doxson all year, and all of a sudden here comes Doxson on some reverse action, and the defense falls for it. Bibbs slips out the front side. I think it's also really smart by Jay in the play design. The offensive line in its current construction hasn't been able to get out on screens. They needed a little bit more time. You know, without Trent Williams, they're not as fast to get out on screens, and Morgan Moses being banged up, not as fast to get out on screens. And what that design does is buy you a little bit of time, nevertheless clear the way to get some of the players out of the way. I know people watching on TV, they're getting to see this right now. You can see some good decision-making made as well, and it's really well executed, and that goes for both Bibbs in how he navigated the blocks, but also the blockers going downfield, making calculated decisions of, I think Capri can outrun this guy, and so I'm going to go to the next guy, and so you get a couple of hits in the right spot, and then Bibbs does the rest. And